Who knows where Russian ambitions in its war against Ukraine end? Eastern Ukraine, the whole Ukraine, all former Soviet countries, the whole Europe? In this episode of 1 week of Russian propaganda, I will tell you about Russian intentions in Europe. I will tell you, where will Russia stop? Ukrainians have learned the hard way that Russian ambitions are never ending. Thousands and then millions of people had to flee their homes when Russia annexed Crimea first, then annexed part of eastern Ukraine, and now started a war. Ukraine has been often told that it should give Russia some of its territories in order to keep peace. Well, Russia has bigger appetites than one would think.
Russia came as a fate to the Western world. First, Russia came to Syria as a fate during the Arab Spring, then to the other places Russia came as a fate, now to Ukraine, to Europe. Fate leads the willing soul, but drags along the unwilling one, Stoic Seneca said.
So wise. What is the next step then after Ukraine? Well, the first one appears to be Poland, that Russian propaganda calls the main prostitute of Europe.
If, God forbid, Americans procure long-range missiles to Ukraine, we will go straight to Warsaw. I don't see any other options. Wherever we are, they will begin to bomb the territories we have liberated, dreaming of eventually attacking us. The question is, when we reach Kiev, I hope that they will not stop us and we will reach Warsaw and all other cities. We need to show them their place every 100 years. And if there is an instruction by our Supreme Commander-in-Chief, our units and forces are able to defeat these puppet theaters that are called NATO troops.
Is Poland the final step? Nope. Next step is Lithuania.
Lithuanians are just scoundrels. They must be beaten mercilessly. Diplomacy in this case absolutely doesn't work.
As you can probably guess by now, all Baltic countries is the next stop.
The whole Baltic region is just a big island, let's face it. If Russia wants to create problems for Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia and cut them off from life support systems, that's entirely possible.
Okay, Russian propaganda doesn't seem to have many friends. Well, geography is certainly not one of them. Anyway, is Baltic region the final step? Not either. In case economic sanctions are not lifted and Europe doesn't stop condemning Russian invasion of Ukraine, Russia would threaten more European countries, including, of course, Germany.
Masha, if anything, we're going to repeat. Germany must know its place, the place of an aggressor who cannot afford to make such statements about Russia. We haven't been to Germany for a long time. We haven't raised our flag over the Reichstag for a long time.
Propagandists tell Russia and Europe has already started preparing for the war. Unfortunately, propagandists can't figure out yet themselves whether Europeans prepare to attack Russia or the other way round, prepare for an attack by Russia.
In the Norwegian province Finnmark, in the north of Norway, people are preparing for an attack on Russia. In the Norwegian province Finnmark, in the north of Norway, people are preparing for an attack by Russians.
So which one is it? On Russia or by Russians? One tactic commonly used in Russian propaganda is labeling. See, if you can put a label on a person or a country, it's much easier to form an opinion without forcing yourself to use logic or common sense to find relationships. They label Ukrainian Nazis and Ukrainian government Nazi regime. They now use those labels for several European countries to brainwash Russian minds, as they did in the case of Ukraine. The easiest Nazi label for Russian propaganda to give is obviously Germany, and its ex-president Joachim Gauck.
I don't know if you heard that right. Russians are wicked, says representative of Germany, basically a Nazi. This means that the commandment "Thou shalt not kill" does not apply when talking about Russians. It's obviously strange that Gao, who imagines himself to be an inquisitor, did not propose to publicly burn Russians in an oven. How can a German politician even afford to take such a stance? Germany must kneel and repent! Kneel and repent! Kneel and repent!
It doesn't even have to be related to any history. Russian propaganda can give a Nazi label to any person or country it doesn't like. For example, another ex-president, this time of Poland, Lech Wałęsa. Guest.
Who are you? Bastard! It's necessary to initiate a court case to sentence him to death.
Host.
We do not have death penalty.
Guest.
We will sentence him in Donetsk. They are also Russian people, also in the Russian vault.
Lithuania implementing transit sanctions can also be given a Nazi and a Nazi regime label.
Lithuania is a Nazi state after they limited supplies to Kaliningrad. Lithuania makes anti-human, Nazi decisions by delaying transit of vital supplies to our people. Nazi Lithuania prevents movement between Russian regions.
Is it a coincidence that everyone who is against Russia is a Nazi? And that is it for today's episode. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think these threats to Europe and NATO countries are genuine? Or does propaganda make them in its TV shows because they want to keep an image of strength and sidetrack attention from its frequent failures in Ukraine? Who do you think is going to get the next Nazi label from Russian propaganda? Thank you for watching and see you next time.